Yo, what's up, guys? We got another video. Come on. We got another video today. Today we're gonna be working on my 2015 Yamaha R6. We got it's a YZF-R6, and we're gonna be doing a few things. I'm gonna break this video up into like multiple different ones. It's gonna be doing a clutch plate replacement. That's paired up with an oil change. That's paired up with a clutch and lever adjustment. We're gonna be kind of walking over all of that. Pretty much what has happened was my clutch was slipping a little bit, and this is another bike that I have, or this is another toy that I have, a part of the collection, only bike that I have. So yeah, we're gonna jump into it. We're gonna go over kind of everything we need. Just so you guys know, did I know how to do this before? I absolutely did not know how to do this before. I have watched multiple videos, read through multiple diagrams. I've already done it, but I'm gonna redo it again just to make sure everything's correct and walk you guys throughout everything. I pretty much know exactly what the fuck I'm doing at this point. I can teach anyone how to do this because I've taken this clutch cover apart and put it back together at least 20 times now. So we're gonna do it one final time. Let's get into the video and let's start with what we need. We have the bike stands right here. You don't need it. I'm gonna be swapping out the rotors and brake pads and all of that, so that's why I'm gonna use them. But here are the necessary tools that you do need. First thing first, you're gonna need a drink because this is gonna suck. Just kidding. The only hard part about this whole thing, and I'm gonna start with this, I'm gonna end with this, is just getting this cover off and getting it on with the correct timing. To time it is very easy, but to get it on and off with this little like push pin that kind of falls down, that's the hard part. So pretty much just gotta put this little pin into a hole. You don't necessarily need gloves. I'm gonna use gloves because I've got my hands oily so much doing this. This is pretty much for, it has a bolt in the end with a zip tie. This is pretty much just to stop the coolant from dripping down. This is your coolant line right here. So when I pull this off, I plug it in with this and I kind of just put this to the side, you'll see. You don't necessarily need this. You just need to make sure this coolant's gonna be dripping out and you wanna move this. So have something to plug that. You're gonna need a 10 mil. This 10 mil is for the springs inside. So you're gonna need a 10 mil. You're gonna need a 5 millimeter. I honestly don't know what this is called. All right, you're gonna need a 5 millimeter one of these. Sorry, my camera was not focusing. So you're gonna need a 5 millimeter of this. I honestly don't know what the fuck this is called. Hexagon key, whatever. This is gonna be for right here, to loosen up all these bolts around here, get this one out. It's a 5 millimeter. You're gonna need a 12 millimeter wrench. In my case, you need a 12 millimeter wrench because these nuts are 12 millimeters for the cable. You're needing that just to loosen it up. An open head wrench, you don't need this part, you just need this part just to loosen it up. You don't necessarily need this, but it would help. An extension. And then you're gonna need ratchet for sure. And then the final thing is, you're gonna need a 17 millimeter for the oil to drain it out. And then this, you don't necessarily need these, but these kind of help you with pulling this when you get the wire on. So if you want to use these, you can. If not, you might have a pain in the ass, but this does help you move this when you have the wire on, or when you're trying to get the wire on. I'm gonna use a drill just because I've done it so many times, and I'm gonna use a drill. You need a drain oil pan, funnel. So this is where you're gonna fill it up. Filter now because it'll drip into the pan. This is what it looks like behind your cover. So I took this cover off. This is what it looks like behind your cover. There's a couple things I want you to note before you take off any more. One thing, if you have a 2015, this is my 2015 model. I know it's 2012 to 2015. I don't know any models before that, but I've seen that in 2012 model as well. This disc right here, this clutch plate, is offset from these. These all go in the same order except this last one. The final one goes offset from these. Look at it very closely. This final one, instead of going in the same tooth, it's offset. All right, just keep that in mind. These all need the same amount of pressure when you put them back on. I believe it's 5 or 6 pounds of torque when you put them back on. I do it by hand because I know how to, but if you usually have to make sure that these are almost identical in pressure. This, you're gonna note this right here. This is your I guess, I don't know what the fuck it's called, your pressure plate lever or whatever the fuck it's called. This goes in, this goes out. When you clutch in up here, it pulls the cable. When it pulls the cable, this piece right here, this is your turning piece, this piece clutches in, right? So this, what that does is, when this clutches in, right, your lever, you clutch in, this pulls. When that pulls, this inside, it's hard to fucking see. This piece inside, it has teeth. This moves, it kind of cranks. So when it's turning and you're clutching in, what this is doing, because it has teeth right here, is it's pulling out, and your clutch plate, right now there's pressure on it in, but it's gonna pop out this way. That's what this does, and that's what this does, and that's why it's so important to get the timing right, because if you don't have enough pressure, it's always gonna stay engaged, and your clutch is either never gonna work, or if you have too much pressure, it's always gonna, the clutch is always gonna be kind of like clutched in, like engaged. I kind of said it backwards. And you'll never be able to get into a gear because there's no pressure on the plates. When you take these off, you're gonna take these off. You should get new springs in the kit. The springs shouldn't really make a difference. You can probably use old springs if you want to. You have to note a couple things. There is 7, 8. There's 9 clutch plates, and I believe 8 or 7 discs. So how it goes is, it goes clutch plate, metal disc, clutch plate, metal disc, clutch plate, metal disc. You're gonna keep repeating that until you get to this very last one. This last one's gonna be a clutch plate, not the metal disc. And then you're gonna put the cap back on. So you start with a clutch plate all the way pushed in, and you end with a clutch plate. In between, when you put the clutch plates in, you're gonna put a metal disc. Another thing to note with that is the first clutch plate that goes all the way in, it's gonna have a purple tab. It's the skinniest clutch plate of all of the plates. The skinniest one goes all the way in the back first. You put that in, then a metal disc. Then you put another clutch plate in. There should be 7 clutch plates that have black tabs, at least for this kit. Black tabs, or they're the same exact, they're the same exact thickness. The final one has a brown tab, and I don't know where the brown tab is on this. When I say brown tab, it's like right here. It'll show brown. The final one is a brown tab. I'm guessing it's a little bit different of a thickness, but that brown tab, you just offset it. So instead of filling it all into the same basket so it loads it in, you're gonna offset it 1 tooth. That's how you do that. After you get that final clutch plate in, right? Clutch plate disc, whatever. You get to the brown tab, you offset it, correct? Boom. A couple markings you gotta keep in mind. There's a arrow here, there's a dot here. Behind this, if I take off these springs, there's gonna be 3 dots on this metal basket. This is called a basket, and there's an inner part to it. There's gonna be 3 dots to it. You just wanna match up this arrow and the dot with one of them. It doesn't matter which one, because this whole thing spins, just one of them. When you match it up to one of them, then you're gonna kind of wiggle this, like kind of turn it back and forth just a little bit so it still matches up, and it's kind of lock in place. You're gonna see it go from a little bit of space to absolutely no space, kind of like this. You're gonna see it hug it just like it was, previously. After you get that done, you gotta put this clutch cover back on. This is the hardest part. You have to match, this has to be pointing this way, because that's the side that this is on. When you put this on, that's the side that this is on. And hear this, you hear how it's popping out? So I'm gonna pull it, right? This is pushed in, I'm gonna pull it. It's gonna hit the metal plate. There's a circle behind it, so it's gonna hit the plate, right? When that hits the plate, this indicator right here, let's get some light. This indicator right here, you got an arrow and you have a dot. There's a dot right there. When this hits that, you should hear that metal plate hit the back. So When this indicator hits that, you should hear this hit the back of this plate. That's the perfect pressure, that's what you need. I'm gonna try it and I'm gonna show exactly what you mean. All right, so I got this thing back on. It's very hard to line it up, but the tooth is in there correctly. It's in the circle. Excuse me. Tooth is in the circle. This is what I'm talking about. So if you get it on the wrong tooth, you can pull this back. The whole clutch cover is gonna come back, but keep some pressure on it, not too much. And you'll hear a click. That means it's skipped another, that means it's going on to the next tooth. So do that until this indicator right here, I know it's really bad to see, but this indicator right here and this arrow, you see how it stops? I push and it stops. That means that I push, it stops. That means that that pin is coming out, and the back of it, the circle on the back of that pin is pushing up against the clutch. This is where it's supposed to be. Now from there, you put your clutch on, and that's when you adjust the bottom of the clutch, and then you adjust the top, and I'll talk about that in a second. But this is where it's supposed to be. You wanna hear that. You wanna hear it, and you won't be able to push it anymore. The rest of it's gonna be clutch cable itself. So that's where you want it to be. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put these back in. I'm gonna bolt it down, put the clutch cable on, show you how to do that, and then we'll jump on to the next thing. All right, after a car ride trip later, she is done. The reason I did a car ride trip, I had to get more Yamalube because the amount of times that I took this on, the cover on and off and had to drain it and re-put it in and all that stuff, I lost a lot of oil. So I'm running a little bit low on oil, but I finally got it and I want to explain everything. So after we put the cover back on, right? Now we go to adjust the cable. You're gonna adjust it down here first. You want it kind of tight, but not, you pretty much want no slack on here, right? You're going to adjust the cable down here to kind of where you need it, and you're gonna go back and forth from up there to down here, but you're gonna adjust it here, kind of where you need it. And it's gonna take a little bit of time. Take your time. Adjust that, bring it all the way up here, and then this you're gonna twist. When you twist that, they tell you want about 5 millimeters of leverage. So what that means, or of space. So what that means is that free play, this, I'm barely touching it. You just want 5 millimeters. So you wanna, it's about a quarter size. I think I have it a little bit more than a quarter size, but let me see if I can do this. Sorry guys, I'm gonna have to use my leg because I'm holding the camera with my other hand. So this is the free play. So the free play, when I'm not even gonna touch it, the quarter should drop. So it's thick enough to fit a quarter, but not too thick where you wanna fit, like you don't wanna fit 2 quarters. If you fit 2 quarters, it's too much. That's the free play. Pretty much when you're adjusting the free play, what that's doing is you're allowing enough slack on the cable so that the clutch isn't engaged and it's not gonna be rubbing up against all the clutch plates, but not too much slack where when you still clutch here, let me put that down, when you still clutch in, it's still pulling the plates out because these plates are coming out. I'll show you what I mean by that. When you pop that gasket open, I'm gonna clutch in up here. You're gonna see these plates move. You see? So you just want a little bit of free play. Not too much, just a little bit. That way it's not like you're riding it's kind of like if you were holding the clutch just a little bit while you're riding it, and it's pretty much riding the clutch the whole time. Not just a little bit, but a little bit makes a big difference over a long period of time. So you want to have enough slack, but not too much slack. I think that covers it all. Ask me in the comment section if you guys have any questions, but that's how you replace a clutch on an R6, on a 2015 R6. That's how you change the oil on a 2015 R6. And that's how you adjust the clutch lever on an R6. That should cover pretty much everything. So yeah, that's my 2015 R6 clutch replacement. I'm gonna put new oil in and get this thing back on the road.